Well, we all have a curiosity of where we came from. I know I've often wondered what kind of lives did my ancestors lead, and also am I related to anyone famous, or better yet, rich?
That's right. Well, genealogy, of course, is becoming a super popular hobby, and there really are so many ways you can find out information about your family history.
It can involve a lot of time and research, so I sat down with a local genealogist to learn more about it. Many of us have that burning desire to know where we came from, so much so that one of the most popular hobbies in the United States right now is discovering our family tree. We're here with Deb Goslin of Ancestry Helper. You are a genealogist. What exactly is genealogy?
It's the study of family history, anything and everything from 5 minutes ago to 5 centuries ago.
So why do people want to know where they came from?
Well, you know, people have a lot of reasons. I think there's just a basic thirst to know where you came from. But as I always joke, people are always looking for somebody who was a king, or somebody famous, or somebody notorious, because people get just as big a kick out of the notorious as they do out of the famous.
Mm-hmm. You deal with so much information when you're discovering and trying to put together someone's family tree. Where do you even start to find all that?
Well, you know, thankfully there are fabulous resources like where we're sitting today at the Grand Rapids Public Library in their local history section. And there are tons of wonderful databases online, like Ancestry.com and Heritage Quest, and things that people can come to a library, or even as I learned today, work from home, using their library card to get to those databases, and then courthouses and old newspapers. There's a bunch of different sources, but a lot of it is online these days.
And that's extremely helpful. I bet that's different from when you started out doing this.
It's unbelievable. I can do in 2 weeks what might have taken me 2 years to do before the internet.
Wow.
Seriously.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So how far back have you been able to trace someone's family tree? And have you made some unique connections?
Well, I have on my own, after 30-some years, gotten back on a couple of lines into the 1400s, but when I do them for other people, I have quite often gotten back into the 1600s, depending on where their roots come from, whether the records are good or not. So, and sometimes you find really exciting things, you know, like they are somebody famous. Like I believe that I'm related to Mark Twain, but it turns out it's probably not true, but I did find a living woman that I believe is Mark Twain's great-granddaughter. So that was probably the most exciting find I ever found.
Okay, so a lot of people do this as a hobby. You do it as a business. So why do people come to you for help?
There's a couple of different reasons. Sometimes they say, I want to know my family history, but I don't know how to do it, or I don't want to take the time to do it, so I'd like to hire you. And other times people have one specific thing that they say, I'd like to know more about the early Dutch in West Michigan or something. And the third thing is what I call my brick wall customers, where they have tried and tried and tried to solve a particular problem, and they just don't have the skills or the resources to do it, and they will, you know, get a hold of me, and they joke about me being the brick wall queen, and then send all their friends' brick wall problems to me. So those are the three things that I do the most.
You know, you've met so many people in doing what you do. I gotta think that it's an emotional journey for a lot of people to really find out things about their own history and find out things about themselves that they never knew before.
It really is. Virtually every time someone ends, they always say, I had no idea. I had all of this in my background. And there's a lot of pride in knowing. And that makes me feel good. I always feel like I'm temporarily part of those people's family. So that's enjoyable to me. But for them, there's a real sense of pride in knowing, especially if somebody's having a little bit of struggle now, to know that other people have in their family and they overcame it. It's really an empowering thing for people to know where they came from.
Well, it's been very interesting talking with you, Deb.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Rachel.
Discovering our family tree. We're here at the Grand Rapids Public Library. Wow, it is so much fun learning about this. I've always had a curiosity. I know that a lot of people out there have as well. We really do need to know where we came from. And it's something that we say, yeah, you know, we'll ask those questions of our family. But you need to do it before some of those family members who have that knowledge pass away.
Well, it's several years ago, the first time I really met Peter Secchia, who was a former ambassador to Italy. I said, I'm Italian, my maiden name's Ferrucci, and he said, where's your family from? And I did not know at that point. So he said, you need to call your dad. So I called my dad and found out that my great-grandfather and great-grandmother were from a little place called Calabria, which is near Sicily. And I found out that they both had come to the United States. My great-grandpa as a teenager with his friends, my great-grandmother as an infant with her family. But that's about the extent of what I kind of researched. I need to figure it all out.
To figure out, and maybe that involves a trip to Italy one day. You never know.
There you go.
Later in the show, Deb's going to break down my family history. And I can honestly tell you that I learned some things about my ancestors that I never knew before. She asked me a lot of questions. I gathered the information from family members, my Aunt Socorro in particular, because she's that person that tracks everybody and knows everything in the family, and we just went from there.
Everybody needs one of those in the family. Have you ever seen that show that's on NBC called Who Do You Think You Are?
Yes.
It is where famous people actually track through. I know Reba McEntire was recently on there. Well, it's just a fascinating show, really, to kind of see these famous people, and as they dig into their past, they become so emotional with that journey.
It is, and that's what I found as well. That is a good show. I checked, and there's going to be an episode next Friday, a new one, March 23rd, tracing the family tree of actress Helen Hunt.
Wow, Academy Award winner.
Yeah, that should be interesting. And so that show airs on Fridays on NBC at 8 p.m.
I need to set my DVR for that one, because that's a show that I really, when I can actually catch it, I just remember being so moved. I think Rosie O'Donnell was one of the people a year or two ago, and just to see really the emotional connection to your past.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So stick around. We got a lot of 8 West coming up.
Your all access pass to everything West Michigan.